Based on the conversation yesterday, how would you rate Speaker Boehner's flexibility?
I won't get into the conversations that the private conversations the President has with the Speaker or others. I would simply say that, as made clear by the letter that the Speaker made public.
And reiterated in the call yesterday.
Again, I'll speak about the public presentation here. There is no indication yet that the Republican leadership is willing to acknowledge the basic fact that rates need to rise on the top 2% in order to achieve the kind of broad-based deficit reduction package that a significant majority of the American people support, and even numerous Republicans have publicly come out in support of.
Why did the White House lower its request for revenue, and how did it achieve that $200 billion? What $200 billion did you take out of that request for extra revenue? I'm told it's from tax reform. Is that true?
I can simply say that, I mean, well, it is our position that rates have to go up on the top 2%. So that is absolutely the case. It is our position, as Mr. Furman demonstrated in his presentation to you last week, that you cannot achieve significant levels of revenue solely by capping deductions or closing loopholes. So that is why you have to have a combination package of both reforms that include those kinds of actions, as well as allowing rates to rise on top earners. As to the proposal that you, or the offer that you reference, I mean, I think it demonstrates the fact that we are willing to try to find a compromise. We are willing to try to work with the Republicans to find an agreement that achieves the broad-based deficit reduction that is supposedly the goal that we all share, and achieve it in a way that doesn't stick it to the middle class, that doesn't leave seniors holding the bag, and that asks, as the President made clear he thought was the right thing to do, asks those who can most afford it to pay a little bit more. And that's where he's been, and it is demonstrated in the proposals he's put forward, and it is demonstrated in the spirit with which he has approached these negotiations. He knows that compromise requires tough decisions by both sides, but it cannot require compromise by one side only.
Why did you add yesterday corporate tax reform to the mix, and how do you respond to the Speaker's contention that that is a red herring, that they always assumed corporate tax reform would be part of these broader conversations on the future of the tax code, and that it's not a concession or an offer or sweetener?
What I won't do is negotiate the particulars from here, because I think that, as I said yesterday,
but that's been confirmed here and up on the Hill.
But again, I won't negotiate the particulars of it. The President
No, you're not negotiating. There's something that's been confirmed that was put on the table yesterday. I'm just asking why.
I'm not disputing
okay.
anything. I'm just saying I won't, like, you citing what one party said and what others said about it. I will simply say that corporate tax reform is a goal the President shares with many members in Congress, as well as the business community, and it is one that he's serious about and hopes to pursue. His goal is to try to find an agreement with Republicans that strengthens and protects the middle class, that helps our economy grow, that helps it create jobs, and that achieves the deficit reduction that also will help our economy grow and create jobs in a balanced way. So that's the President's goal.
Last question. Based on where we are now, does the President feel it's incumbent upon him to provide any new proposals to the Republicans?
I'm not going to game out how the next days and weeks play out. The process, we hope, will continue. Again, there is a simple proposition here that
so it's possible the Republicans can reiterate their position, the President could compromise some more.
Well, I think I've said before, we're not going to just negotiate with ourselves. But the President believes, as he said yesterday, that a deal is possible. He's confident that a deal is achievable. Well, there've been more than, he's had more than one conversation with the Speaker and many conversations with many other stakeholders in this process, and the process continues. But let's make clear what is absolutely his position, and he has been clear about this for quite a long time. He will not sign an extension of the Bush tax cuts for the top 2%. It is not a viable position to say that the highest priority here should be that wealthy folks get another tax cut. That is not good economic policy. We can't afford it. It's not fair. And the president believes that the focus ought to be on the middle class here. And if the focus were on the middle class universally up on Capitol Hill, 98% of the American people would already know that they were getting a tax cut next year. But that hasn't happened.
Keeping their taxes where they are.
Well, that's a tax cut compared to what current law is.
Okay.
And let's also recognize the fact here that when those who oppose that position say that we can't hike taxes on the top 2%, nobody's asking them to vote for a tax hike for the top 2%. We're asking that they vote for a tax cut extension for 98% of the American people, and to let the rest of that law stand as is, which means that those tax cuts for the wealthiest expire. That's how the law was written. That's how it was designed, as you know, because you and I both covered it back in 2001 and 2003 with a 10-year window and then an extension, precisely because the designers, the authors of those tax cuts knew that they were explosively expensive in the out years, knew that they were budget busters. And while they promised otherwise, that's what America got. They got a series of economic policies that took record surpluses and turned them into record deficits, and now you have some of the same people who supported those policies saying, we got to do that again because it was so good for America. The president disagrees.